Hello, it's the Devil Joe, back again with a brand new video, and today I'm gonna be comparing all the Yamatos that have been used in the Devil May Cry games, except the reboot cause that's a whole different can of worms to unpack. And by all the Yamatos, I mean all of them from the DMCs, which means the legendary Dark Knight costume Yamato, DMC 3 Yamato, Nero's stand in DMC 4, I mean, come on, that's technically Yamato. The game even mentions it as such. And Wacky Woohoo Pizza Motto Vergilated DMC 4 SE Yamato, and finally DMC 5 SC, I'm not paying child support, goddammit, Yamato. So if any of y'all are interested in Devil May Cry content or other action game videos, make sure to subscribe for more DMC and hack and slash content. To check out the channel. At 1,000 subs, I'll do the rainstorm trick in real life. So without further ado, let's jump right into the motivation. Alright, starting this video, I'm gonna need to clear a few things up. I'm going in depth about each variation of this katana. So to do that, I'll put each of them into categories. To be clear on which one wins which, and to be clear on each game's place, I will have a top 5 at the end of each, just so that we're crystal glass shattering clear. And you might be wondering, why a top 5 for each? Well, I was thinking of doing a standard top 5 like my last video, since that went over better than I expected it to. Till I went down a rabbit hole of how they're built different in each game. These categories are how it looks, the damage it outputs, crowd control, which Yamato does best against entire groups of enemies, sound effects, which one sounded the best, speed, obviously this is aimed to look at which Yamato is the fastest out of the bunch. Last but not least, we got moves. Since we're talking about a game that wants you to be as stylish as you can, I'll be judging these moves based on flashiness and effectiveness. So starting off with the first category is design. When I look at these, I'll be looking at it in release order. So first up is the legendary Dark Knight skin Yamato from DMC 1. With its golden Tsuka handle, wrapped in golden Ito cords. Even the Habaki is gold. And I honestly think that it looks pretty cool in my eyes, for what Team Little Devils were able to do with the PS2 hardware. The sword looks like a legendary ancient artifact by having the golden handle and guard piece combo. As for the blade itself, it doesn't have any sort of distinct pattern on it or any blood groove to speak of. It's just the blade that comes with Alistair's lightning effects after each strike. But for its saya, it's got the Sagyo cord wrapped around the sheath instead of dangling. That is a refreshing design element for the dimension-cutting katana. The Kojiri is golden, so overall it's a nice looking sword for this game, but it could have ended up being an over-designed mess if this was the sword paired with Vergil's design. Now I'll move on to the Yamato in DMC 3 and 4, since both of them look exactly the same. The only difference is the console generation they were rendered on. This sword follows the KISS principle of keeping it simple, stupid while supporting a white Tsuka, keeping the round golden Tsuba and Habaki, including a golden Kashira pommel with a dragon at the bottom of the thing. The blade now supports a blood groove, coming with a black saya as its resting place, having a golden Sago just dangling there, in case Vergil needs to strap it to his waist. And the golden Kojiri cap having a nice design. As I said earlier, the sword aesthetic is going by the KISS principle. So simplicity was top priority on the agenda, to complement Vergil's overall blue design, and I think they hit it out of the ballpark with this one. First off, we have contrast between it and Rebellion. While that sword is a larger-than-life anime claymore, the Yamato looks like a regular-ass katana that any run-of-the-mill samurai would use. But having said that, a lot of these design elements look a lot better than DMC 1 Yamato. First off, the white handle wrapping and the golden guard added to the golden plated dragon pommel. Even the Tsuba has a couple of dragons all over it. The actual blade having a blood groove is a nice detail to add to the sword. It even has these sword patterns on the blade, giving it a sharper look in DMC 4. Let's be honest, if the DMC 1 Yamato was paired up with this guy, it just wouldn't have meshed well with his overall blue design. Since the black and white sheath to handle pairing that has a couple of minor gold pieces on it in a way fits with Vergil's own demeanor of effectiveness over loud abrasive style. But the gold shows there's a tiny hint of a show-off in him, but he'd rather end the fight quickly. Let's take a look at the Yamato in DMC 5, or as I like to call it, the edgy rebirth mix. Just like the Devil Sword Sparta, Yamato is an iconic PS2 era sword from the series that got a facelift so that it won't look out of place on the shiny new RE engine in all of its 4K glory, by changing up the looks of the anatomy, keeping the general color scheme the same as in DMC 3 and 4. The Tsuka is still wrapped in the white cord, but the shark skin is way more visible. You can even see the pin holding the sword in place, along with two different patterns stuck to the sword, positioned on two different spots of the handle, from both sides bringing a completely different guard shape, adding two more spaces this time. The gold is more of an outline to its blue color, with the added gold clover patterns, but the Habaki keeps the golden color. That adds sort of a circular pattern that's tipped off with a black Kashira pommel, supporting gold lines, swirling into that dragon pattern that the last one had, but the blade itself has been pimped out by some of that HD flair. Sure, the blood groove has been removed, but hey, the blade now has some sort of a Damascus pattern that I think looks pretty dope. This thing looks like it will be able to cut you open too. As for the saya, it's all matte black, once again having the Sago dangling from it. And it's blue, harkening back to DMC1's color scheme. After seeing the redesign for the first time, I thought that it was peak, but now I'm slightly mixed on it. For one, I'm a fan of the Tsuba shape. On the other hand, the pattern seems odd to me. The last one had this really cool dragon pattern on it. And the pommel patterns are just too art deco-y for my tastes. I like the look of the dragon better. On the contrary, I think the blade itself is a highlight of the design. I just really like the Damascus detailing on the edge, along with the detail of seeing the Megumi pin and the handle engravings. Here's our top 3. At number 3, Legendary Dark Knight Yamato from Devil May Cry 1. Number 2, we have DMC 5 Yamato. At number 1, we have DMC 3-4 Yamato, with that being tied in with DMC 5 Yamato because, in my opinion, both of these have really banging designs. 3 and 4 kinda edged out because they have some pretty minor details that slightly elevate that over DMC 5's Yamato, but hey, they're both really good designs for the sword. Our next category is damage. The Yamato in DMC 1 does the exact same amount of damage as the Alistair. The time it takes you to damage or kill an enemy is the exact same using Million Stab, combos A and B, with Alistair equipped. But keep in mind, Alistair is no slouch, especially when DT is popped. Same deal applies to the Yamato, handing over the Devil Trigger before getting jabbed by Alistair. For the acquisition, since this is supposed to be Sparta we're talking about, you turn into his bug form. Hell, even the slashes turn into the large meat cleaver to chop demons up at a faster rate. Touching on the next iteration of Yamato is the katana that we got to use as Vergil in Devil May Cry 3. This thing is a lot like piloting an old school fighter jet. Hard to get the hang of, but once you do, you can do some serious damage using it. On its own, the combo doesn't do a whole lot unless you finish it. Once you do, it does a pretty solid amount of damage. After practicing a couple of judgment cuts, them annoying ass enigmas will get one shot, getting rid of them metallic pests. After launching an enemy, it can be followed up by another slash, making some of these demons shed some bloody ass tears from that bullying session. Enter Rapid Slash, the elongated stinger bringing in some AoE elements, mainly throwing the quick slashes that'll probably wind up as the most spammable move for its distance coverage, plus the high damage. On the flip side, the Yamato is a bit
too slow
by design, since the idea behind Yamato in DMC3 is calculated use paired with summon swords. Let me explain. After watching some pros playing as Vergil, is a lot of the time the Yamato is meant to be used like a secondary tool, to be swapped out in the middle of Force Edge and Beowulf combos, to keep them enemies airborne while popping them judgment cuts, simultaneously throwing in summon swords to inflict any true amount of damage. On to the most controversial entry on this list, and by extension the whole video, Nero's DT Yamato. I mean, come on, he pulls it out right here. The fact that it's a DT has the same rules applied to it as any other Devil Trigger in the series. Health regen, plus an attack buff to your existing moveset. After activating it, you'll find out that it helps out melting away most of the opposition's health bar by speeding up your attacks. Hell, if you add Exceed into the mix, then you'll melt everyone that comes your way. I'm not just talking about 1 or 2 demons. I'm talking about whole crowds. Line them up and start roasting them at the same time. Let's not forget, Yamato gives our favorite deadweight freaking summon swords with each blue rose shot. Charging his magnum will have him shoot out a bunch of summon swords, making it way deadlier than it was in base form. Guess what? Daddy's sword has some OP special moves of its own. You got the showdown trick that has Nero slicing an X-shaped wormhole, blasting it at any demon crawling towards him. Hell, Maximum Bet exists, an OP charge attack letting Nero slice up everything into sashimi, dealing a shitload of damage. I mean, look at this. It has killed these 2 guys under a couple of seconds. Alright Nero, I know that your old man wasn't around for your upbringing, he didn't pay child support money, but hey, at the very least you got to inherit his most prized possession, the Yamato. It made you earn a crap ton of money as a devil hunter, because the job got a hell of a lot easier. I'm sure that Papa Vergil won't mind letting you keep the sword, like Uncle Dante did.
I'm taking this back.
What the shit? He's still running from child support? Cut to the next entry, Jared. Now! Phew, that was a doozy to witness. Now that the dysfunctional familial amputation is out of the way, let's get into Dante's Darkslayer style. That time Dante ended up swinging the Yamato to cause some necessary property damage, while slicing up some demons. The Yamato variation here is an unlockable style for Dante, not a main weapon. It's kinda like DMC3's version of the sword, where you're supposed to use it more like a support weapon, along with your guns, devil arms, and styles. All in the name of a crazy party. With that being said, you got Combo S. It doesn't deal as much damage as it has done in DMC3, but Air Rave jump cancels can cut up your enemies into confetti. The Judgment Cut, like in DMC3, will be a surefire way to break groups of devils apart, at the same time putting a few of them very close to their deathbed. Making our way back to the Yamato's rightful owner, the motivated one, Vergil, with its Devil May Cry 4 variant. As for damage, this sword is a lot stronger than its DMC3 counterpart, in a few areas and weaker in some. For one, the standard ABC combos can do hella damage to a single demon, to the point of killing them, especially that combo C, shredding any fool that gets in its path. That's without getting into the motivation meter, that fills up by becoming Vergil, meaning that you don't get hit, you always land your attacks, while not unnecessarily running around or jumping when it ain't called for. Once that gets filled up, the Yamato deals more damage, especially if combo C is involved. When it comes to the A and B combos, both of these deal a ton of damage with the concentration meter. Pop Devil Trigger and oh god, the amount of punishment you're able to deal out to a single demon is insane, instantly axing off lesser devils. But the Judgment Cuts aren't the best thing for dealing damage. Now I know that I'll probably get torn to shreds in the comments below, so just hear me out. Yes, in DMC4 you can pull off multiple Judgment Cuts, but the skill ceiling is a bit too high for me. I'm probably guessing that you have to cancel it from trick ups to trick downs for the infamous trick cut to get the highest damage output for them trick cuts. The catch is you need to practice it a whole bunch. Credit to where credit is due, after each strike the Yamato is already charging up a Judgment Cut that can be pulled off after each attack for maximum damage. The Air Rave is pretty brutal. Whether you decide to finish it off or jump cancel it, them demons will fall on a dime. Enter Judgment Cut N, a super move that requires DT active and a full motivation meter, along with your thumbs pushing circle and triangle at the exact same time. Then boom, huge fuck off AoE slash, killing every single lesser demon in sight, vaporizing boss health bars into an oblivion, trivializing most of these encounters. This Yamato so far is the most effective version of this sword, to the point that you can make it through most missions just fine by using the Yamato on its own, since it's a strong dealer of death. Next up in the damage category is Yamato in DMC5 Vergil DLC or 5 Special Edition, depending on what you bought at the end of the day. A lot of the moves here are the same deal as DMC4 SE Vergil, with a few tweaks to them. The ABC combos wind up doing a bit more damage than the DMC4 SE version, dealing some more noticeable damage in base concentration form. Obviously it'll get buffed in Send Devil Trigger, which reminds me, with SDT activated, one Judgment Cut turns into 2, targeting more than one adversary. It can be used to target up to 4 demons. You can't forget the buffs these ABC combos receive in DT. While I brought up Judgment Cuts, let's talk about it. In DMC5, Vergil can do multiple Judgment Cuts. Hell, you are able to count them by the catchphrase change. From down you go is 1 cut, till you get Vergil saying jackpot, then you got 4 cuts. The 4 cuts are a surefire way to get a ton of damage dealt to your enemies, to the point of putting them out of their misery. Hell, it even disintegrates a ton of DMC5's bosses. I mean all of them. Getting airborne for a second and moving on to the aerial rave. Animation-wise, it's a lot like how it was in DMC4. And damage-wise too. Most demons could get wounded by Vergil easily. They will fall to their deaths. Judgment Cut and makes her turn, you still need a full SDT meter and motivation meter to pull it off. You'll still be clicking circle and triangle, plus lock on forwards to get. Then everybody dies. The JCE here kinda has more of a reach limit than its DMC4 version, meaning if enemies and bosses are out of reach, then the JCE is ineffective. Get them in range and rest assured, you guaranteed their deaths. On to the top 6, yep, I just realized that it's a top 6 while recording these voice lines. With my unprofessionalism out of the way, let's crack this list open. Number 6, LDK Yamato, might as well use Alistair instead. Number 5, Dante Motto, should have removed the pizza oil off of it. Number 4, DMC3 Yamato, when discipline is more valuable than motivation. Number 3, Bankai Motto, fatherly love not included. Number 2, DMC4 Yamato, when motivation is everything. Number 1, DMC5 Yamato, an apple a day makes you beat Dante any day. Or does it? For our next category, we got crowd control. As I've already stated, DMC1 Yamato has the same exact moveset as Alistair, minus Stinger, Vortex, Air Rave. The closest thing it has to crowd control is Million Stab. Even then, you need the enemies to be perfectly lined up for him to get perfectly shish kebabbed. To put it simply, DMC1 Yamato is pretty weak. On crowd control options, you're better off parking it aside for Alistair or Ifrit. Getting into the DMC3 Yamato, this is the start of the katana getting some solid crowd control options. First off, that Judgment Cut is the only one that can scatter hordes of enemies away from you. To scatter them just like that, let's not forget about that Rapid Slash. Once it hits a large group of enemies coming at you, it'll tame them from ganging up on you. I'll just go out on a whim and say this, most of the regular Yamato stand attacks can pass up for AoEs. I mean, the swipe is pretty damn wide. It hits 3 to 4 people on its own. Not just that, Exceed can be utilized to give this thing more of a wide area of effect, shoving large crowds away from Nero's general direction. By the way, them specials, Showdown is a huge-ass cross-shaped black hole that's there to push them pesky crowds aside that is more than capable of causing demonic genocide. Oh, if you manage to get some solid maximum bet timings, you'll be able to chop up armies into smithereens, just be careful not to get hit from the back. Moving on to Darkslayer Pizza Cutter Motto style. The crowd control options that it has aren't anything to scoff at. First off, the Final Slash using the standard combo swipes away 2 adversaries that get close to you. As for legit crowd controlling, look no further than Dimension Slash, aka Judgment Cut. A goddamn screen clearer that'll help you out in breaking up the massive entourage of enemies that come at your general direction. Keep in mind that it's much better to use as a combo ender or from a safe distance. Playable Vergil in Devil May Cry 4. What can I say about the plethora of tools the Yamato gives you to manage large crowds of devils wanting to pile up to jump your blue-coated ass? Starting off with Combo C, the Yamato's version of Million Stab, making Vergil continuously slash a crowd of enemies in a fast-paced anime succession affecting groups of demons. Alright, Vergil, we get it. Your weak powers are too strong for this world. You can now chill. I cannot forget to talk about Rapid Slash. When it comes to crowd control, it's much faster than the DMC3 version, to the point where you can spam it. A part of the move are these little explosive summon swords, launching some of them higher into the air. To go after them to insert some dominance by juggling them for some extra soul points, just pop that devil trigger and boom! You'll instantly tear away through legendary Dark Knight mode like this. Let's not forget Judgment Cut End.
I shall surpass Sparta.
Dude, at this point you already have, so that's some solid crowd control for you. Getting straight into DMC5's Yamato, wielded by Vergil. The moves you got for crowd control are Rapid Slash, Combo C, Judgment Cut End, with some added tweaks and damage buffs. For instance, Rapid Slash travels slightly faster than it did in DMC4. It shoots out the explosive summon swords. Hell, the DT spam is way crazier than it was shown in DMC4 SE. Wow, Vergil, chill my dude, they're already dead. Then we get to Combo C, that can catch multiple enemies in one swoop like in Devil May Cry 4. But wait till you get a load of the DT'd Combo A, letting Vergil cut up many crowds of enemies. Now for the top 6. Number 6, DMC1 Yamato. Bruv, where's my Vortex or Air Rave? Number 5, Dante Motto. Judgment Cut is great for breaking large crowds apart. Number 4, Standard Sky Nero. Everything is an AoE! Number 3, DMC3 Yamato. Rapid Slash and multiple Judgment Cuts. Nuff said. Number 2, DMC4SC Vergil Yamato. Everyone gets chopped up to confetti. Number 1, we have DMC5 Yamato. More demons shall be chopped up to sashimi. We just got done talking about damage, crowd control, and now would be a good time to talk about which one sounded the best. Starting off with DMC1 Yamato, using the same electric shock sound effects as the Alistair after every slash. How it hits an enemy gives off the same sound effects as a longsword cutting up a lot of the demons, without any unique katana sound effects. Kind of a bummer, but hey, at least they ended up adding this extra weapon to this here Sparta costume. DMC3 was the game that solidified how Yamato is used, mainly by Vergil, who's an Iaido user, rarely taking the sword out of the sheath, drawing it when necessary, so the sheath attacks obviously sound like the demons are getting whacked by a blunt object. But when the sword is being pulled out, them swipes are music to my ears. You can hear the air cutting through the blade because of Vergil's perfect edge alignment swinging the sword. What I really like about the Rapid Slash are the subtler sound effects that you can hear when Vergil is grabbing the sword before going for that massive draw cut. The ending slash is the stuff of legends, just hear this out my guy. For Judgment Cut, them blue balls are in a league of their own. You do get the wind slash sound, but what follows is the literal whoosh sound of time and space cutting open, making a black hole. DMC3 Yamato has some pretty kick-ass sound design. I'm not gonna lie, the sound effects for the blade have been refined to absolute perfection. Nero carrying Yamato in Devil May Cry 4 was his Devil Trigger, creating a stand that doubles his attack power. This thing sounds like Nero is going for rapid clean cuts, so each swipe is elevated through every attack. It's literally an amplified version of the Red Queen's swipes. The Yamato sound effects shine through the special moves. Pulling off Showdown, you can hear the wind-up charge that's followed up by a large-ass Dimension Slice that sounds like wormholes are being cut into existence. Maximum Bet, on the other hand, is all Yamato. Once you get to hit the enemy, you can hear two distinct cuts of the Red Queen and Yamato. Overall, pretty good sound design. Nero ain't the only one in DMC4 to wield Yamato. Dante got a hold of the Dimension Cutter as a style that has the same sound philosophy as DMC3 Yamato. Every time Dante hits the enemy, it sounds like he's whacking him with a wooden baseball bat. But the swoosh each time he cuts an enemy up with them perfect air cuts. For the Dimension Cutter, I like how they managed to expand the distorted sound effects of the black hole being cut up into existence, but to complement the lines, it legit sounds like Dante stitching them using the Yamato. On to DMC4 SE, when the Yamato is in the hands of its rightful owner, coming in with the smoothest slashing sound effects ever. Vergil takes out his sword a lot more than he did in DMC3, so that means more swooshing around. I really like how they managed to make the sword sound a lot more visceral in Vergil's hands. Every slash just has that extremely clean, precise wind cut, especially Combo C and Rapid Slash. Let's not forget about Judgment Cuts. These have dimension cutting prowess, happening in a flash, showing Vergil's quick draw skills through sound alone. As for Judgment Cut End, oh lord, it starts off by a literal storm brewing, followed up by huge cuts that end off in a bang. Just perfection. Getting into DMC5 Yamato, how Capcom decided to approach the Blade Symphony is a lot different to DMC4, to support the more realistic aesthetic of DMC5. Vergil still takes out the sword more than he does in DMC3, about the same amount of times as he does in 4. You still get the wind slash sound effect, but having said that, there's a bit more weight to the end of each cut, where you can feel the cold steel of the sword. As for Judgment Cut, you still get the storm at the beginning of the charge animation that gets followed up by a large black hole, stitching that ends by the glass shattering sound effects of your screen. For our list, we have number 6 DMC1 Yamato, same audio files as the Alistair. Number 5 Yamato stand, not gonna lie, the whoosh sounds are kinda satisfying. Number 4 DMC3 Yamato, the sound of that blade cuts right through your soul. Number 3 Yamato in the hands of Dante, more soul-cutting melodies. Number 2, the last time I'll take Yujiro Hanma's advice on getting stronger, innovating the Yamato sound effects further. Number 1 DMC5 Yamato, sounds about as real as you can get. Moving on to the speed category, starting things off with DMC1 Yamato, that has the same amount of speed as Alistair and Force Edge. It isn't any slower or quicker than any of these. DMC3 Yamato, on the other hand, doesn't play like a longsword. It's in the hands of a samurai in blue. But Yamato in this game feels tanky. To most people picking up Vergil for the first time, the sword is gonna feel a lot slower than the Rebellion, because a lot of the slow and methodical attacks, even the Judgment Cut, feels awkward to pull off. On the flip side, to unlock the speed of the Yamato, it all depends purely on your skill, meaning you gotta practice, my G, to make it faster. You have to get used to jump cancelling due to the aerial rave having a massive bump in speed. After jump cancels, I'd also recommend adding the trick to cancel out the recovery animations, while getting used to doing multiple Judgment Cuts. Don't forget to pair with Summon Swords. Yamato in DMC4 granted Nero a stand of Vergil's lost soul from the Nilo Angelo days, giving him a speed buff to a lot of his standard Red Queen strikes. So yeah, it's pretty damn speedy. Nero ain't the only one who got a hold of the Yamato. It was in the possession of the wacky woohoo pizza man. As a style, it's as fast as it was in DMC3. At first it seems slow and tanky, but you gotta learn how to get good with Dante. Judgment Cut is meant to be a combo ender, to cap the combo off stylishly. The aerial rave is meant to be paired with other aerial moves, so it's less of a main weapon than it was in DMC3. Getting into Vergil's use of the katana, and by god, the Yamato here is fast and visceral. Dude, I mean, the rate that Vergil can cut people up is crazy quick. No more having to find ways and tweaks to pour out attacks through tricks. You can still do that if you want to, and DMC4 rewards you greatly for it. But Vergil is on a continuous roll. As for the Yamato in DMC5, I'd say it's as fast as DMC4's Yamato. It's slightly speedier, hell, he even has after images after each attack. Most demons barely see Vergil coming, if they ever do. For this list, we have DMC1 Yamato, about as fast as Alistair. Number 5, DMC3 Yamato, it's rough around the edges. Number 4, Dante using Yamato, the ultimate support style. Number 3, Deadweight Yamato. Red Queen times 2 speed. Number 2, 4 SE Yamato. Nightcrawler ain't got nothing on Vergil. Number 1, DMC5 Yamato. Look at Vergil emasculating every other fictional teleporting swordsman. We have just covered the look of each Yamato, plus their damage output, crowd control, sound effects, and speed. Now for the most important aspect of every single Devil May Cry weapon. By extension, all action games. Kicking things off, DMC1 Yamato. The moveset for this version of the katana has the exact same moveset of the Force Edge with Alistair's lightning powers. The combos ABC are the exact same, million stab, plus the 3 directional cuts, and downward slash. Are very similar to what Alistair already has. Minus Stinger, Vortex, and Round Trip, so yeah, it'll be ditched as soon as you get your hands on Alistair. Moving on to a much more diverse moveset, we'll dive right into DMC3 Yamato. This is where the Yamato got some much needed flavor added to its repertoire. First off, it's not thrown around like the other great swords in the series. Since Vergil is an Iaido user, he attacks with the sword sheath till he takes it out on a dime. That's just his combo A. On the other hand, the launcher is pretty damn effective, along with the follow-up attack that it has. Not to mention adding one of the greatest gap closers of all time, the Rapid Slash, that has AoE properties to clear a ton of enemies out of your way, while looking stylish without even trying. Enter the most legendary skill meticulously designed by the utmost prestigious hack-and-slash scientists to be the most stylish move to be devised for an action game, the Judgment Cut. The Yamato's main charging move that can dish out large amounts of damage to enemies that can be pulled off multiple times, if you get the skill and timing down. Once you do, you'll turn into Boss Vergil. A solid moveset overall, a much bigger improvement from DMC1's toolkit. With a catch, you gotta keep on practicing with this thing, along with using them trick ups and downs, plus summon swords, to get the full use out of it. Next in line is the time where Deadweight Kyrie Simp got a hold of the Universe Cutter, for it to act as his own Devil Trigger, buffing all the Red Queen's moves like Combo A and B, Streak, High Roller, Shuffle, and every Exceed Max Act move. As per Yamato's specific moves, you got 2 of them. Showdown plus Maximum Bet. One acts like a charge attack to shoot out a projectile to deal large amounts of damage, knocking back large hordes of enemies while doing so. Just be sure that you don't get hit during the windup. The other special move, Maximum Bet's a series of slashes that Nero uses to go all in to cut up all other surrounding enemies. Just be careful not to get hit from the back. In my opinion, it's a shame that the only way they could give Nero DT is by handing him the Yamato, slapping 2 new moves in there, and calling it a day. But thank God the next game gave him a proper Devil Trigger form. Moving on to that one time Dante used the Yamato to close off some Hellgates and to slice pizza off screen. This Yamato has the same exact moveset as the one in DMC3, minus Rapid Slash and the launcher. Dante keeps the V Aerial Rave and V Combo C. Judgment Cut is a part of the moveset. I mean, it's a staple of the sword at this point. The Darkslayer Yamato is great for juggling enemies in the air. I'd go as far as to say, it would probably make for a great combo ender. Keep in mind, Yamato is a style for Dante, not meant to be used as a main weapon. It's meant to be used as a support option, to extend combos getting more style points. So in short, the only way to use this thing right, you gotta get good as Dante. There's just no way around it. Getting to the time where Vergil walked into Fortuna for more knowledge on Sparta that quickly escalated into a lifelong mission of tax evasion by disappearing into the night. More importantly, he's got to stay on top of that pursuit of power. Oh lord, is the Yamato packing some serious heat. First off, the basic combo ABC are a more than welcome addition to Vergil's repertoire. Sticking to Iaido style, he starts off whacking the demons using the sheath till taking it out. But there's more than one way Vergil pulls out his sword, in the form of 2 slashes, to a twirling cut, and wait, a million cut? If that ain't motivation, I don't know what is. Some of the classics have made a comeback, like Rapid Slash, that more than lives up to its name by moving faster than it did in DMC3. Just pop Devil Trigger, he's already moving faster than the speed of light. The damn thing can end with a launcher, if you wanted some more air rave action. That animation has changed. Instead of taking out the sword constantly, the damn thing is already out. At least that's what I'm seeing anyways. Other than the increased speed, it helps deal more damage than it used to in 3. It came with its own pause combo, allowing Vergil to rise a lot like Nero's High Roller, making the air combat a lot more fun to play with. Judgment Cuts can happen pretty much after every single attack. since the Yamato's about to charge. Yes, it can be done on the ground like the other versions of it, but the Judgment Cut can go airborne. It'll keep them enemies stunned in the air for a bit longer. Don't feel like using Rapid Slash to launch anybody? The normal launcher is here. It can be done DMC3 style, or you can use High Time to get Vergil to jump after him. To style on their demonic asses while airborne, instead of swapping to the Force Edge for High Time, or jumping after him yourself. Yamato came along with a special move that requires DT plus a full concentration. The Judgment Nut End, where Vergil dashes around everywhere, cutting up dimensions. To add insult to injury, the dude adds explosive summon swords to blow their shit up after getting sliced up by the universe. Heading into the time of Vergil's rebirth, we got Yamato in DMC5. Admittedly, the moveset is similar to what we got in 4th Special Edition, keeping the staple combo ABC. After Vergil whacks some demons with the Saya, he'll either twirl or pull the sword out for a second time, or he can million slash. The inputs are the same as the ones from 4SE, the main difference is a slight speed buff, especially with a raised concentration meter, that makes these combos much faster to pull off, plus the extra damage. We haven't gone to DT yet. The Rapid Slash made its return as the trusty Stinger variant that takes enemies down horizontally, keeping the launcher it had at the end from last time around. Animation-wise, the air wave hasn't changed much from what we had in DMC4SE, with the high roller being back to give Vergil a bit more airtime. You can either Judgment Cut him upstairs, or switch to Beowulf Lunar phase. Now that I mentioned Judgment Cuts, let's talk about him for a bit. The blue balls are back, with an added layer of HD RE engine particle effects glory, looking way better than ever. You can do them multiple times, like you could in DMC3, on the ground and airborne too, with the game keeping a 4 count for Vergil. If you do a single Judgment Cut, he'll just say kneel before me. If he does 4 of them, he will utter the one phrase that he told Dante not to say, jackpot. Yep, some motivated hypocrisy to let you know that you've done them right. Spamming these can shred a ton of bosses apart like they're paper. A new move they added to the katana is its own version of Helmbreaker, dubbed the Aerial Cleave, in case you feel like smashing him to the ground. One other go-to tool is the Void Slash, the most Vergilated move to ever be programmed in this franchise. The motivated one unsheaths the Yamato for a time-stopping cut, freezing the demon or demons for a brief moment, allowing you to combo them to your heart's content. Last, but certainly not least, Judgment Nut happy to disappear into the night end. A super move that needs you to have full concentration plus a full SDT gauge to pull off, that just like in 4SE, takes out a load of enemies in an instant, while tanking a lot of the other bosses, but they have to be within the range of the JCE. If they're far away, then it has no effect on them. But once you do, then...
You shall die.
Rest in peace. For our list, we have number 6, Daddy's Sword, ain't got enough tricks. Number 5, Devilbringer Motto. It's just Red Queen with 2 moves, nothing that exciting. Number 4, Necessary Property Damage. Dante has so much to work with, the Yamato's an afterthought. A good one though. Number 3, DMC3 Yamato, the start of Iaido. A great base template for how Yamato should play. Number 2, One Night Stand Yamato. The new tools and tricks are appreciated. Number 1, I am the storm that is Yamato. Them extra moves make it edge out over DMC4 Yamato. With that, we have made it to the end of the video. What did you guys think of the whole thing? And which Devil May Cry game had the best Yamato variation in your opinion? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and while you're at it, why not hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for more action game content. This has been the Devil Joe signing out.
Alright, you wanna play? Let's play. That's enough!